Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me. I'm Henry Lazenby for Mining Journal in Vancouver, Canada. Joining me today is Eric Saderholm, President and Director of American Pacific Mining, and CEO Warwick Smith, who is also serving as a director on the board. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us, Henry.
The company has formed a unique exploration joint venture with a USA-based subsidiary of Rio Tinto, one of the world's mining giants. To start off, Eric, please provide us with a brief introduction to the company's flagship asset, the Madison Copper Gold Project in Montana. We'll get to those recent first exploration results in just a moment.
Okay, well, it's a classic skarn at the surface, high grade, assumed to be above a porphyry system. Rio Tinto is obviously in the business of putting large ore bodies into production. They don't really like the little teeny ones. They're looking for something big. We have a huge land package in that particular area and several targets that they'll be testing. This year they have concentrated on the higher grade skarn mineralization, which runs quite nice grades, both copper and gold. And next year they'll branch out and drill other targets.
Okay, can you briefly just explain under what terms Rio Tinto's Kennecott is involved at Madison?
I can take that, Eric. I'm happy to do that. So when we picked up this project, we inherited the joint venture agreement with Rio Tinto, but it's a good one. They can spend up to $30 million US to earn 70% of the project. They drilled the project last year in 2019 and spent around $2 million. And so far to date this year, they've drilled 9 holes, one of which we released yesterday, and 8 more that are pending in the lab. So there's an ongoing campaign there at the moment as well.
Yes, indeed. So Kennecott put out the first hole just early this week, including an intercept of 69.4 gram per ton gold over 1.72 meter, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So for you, Eric, please walk us through the significance of this early result. What are the key takeaways from this drilling?
Well, what they're trying to do is to put some tons or some extent to this. So it's got 163 holes historically been drilled. What they're trying to do is extend it. There are several different old mines there with limited amount of material taken from them. They're trying to link these up. So it's an attempt to make the ore body or the mineralization bigger. Apparently the first hole did succeed in this. It's extended mineralization about 30 meters or 100 feet or so down plunge, which we're very pleased with. I'm sure they are as well. So the continued program is just to make this particular skarn body bigger, more robust, and more of a mineable entity.
So how has your understanding of the deposit evolved since you got involved?
Well, Warwick and we reviewed this project back in 2016 and a company called Broadway beat us to the punch. So when we had a chance to get it, we went back and got it this year because we like it quite a bit. The understanding of the system, it's a complicated system, but it's a lot of fun to work on these types of systems because the mineralization is in so many different phases of rock. It's in massive sulfide, it's in jasperoids, it's in skarns. That's the type of system that has taken a long, long time to evolve. And the fact that there's mineralization in just about everything you can lay your hands on is quite intriguing and encouraging to us for sure.
So what exactly about the deposit really makes it so timely for the current, shall I say, tumultuous global economic backdrop?
I think it's a good time to have metals properties and have good ones that look like they're promising within a near future type mining time frame. So it's been nice to have these properties that we have all specializing in the higher grade gold or gold copper. So it's a nice deposit to have in our portfolio. Clearly our flagship at the moment. It's just got great grades. And I've worked in other types of deposits like this, other skarn deposits, and none of them had the grades like this has. This is a very well endowed system.
Henry, just to expand upon that, I mean, I think it's great for a company our size as well to have a partnership with Rio Tinto. Obviously, Kennecott being a portion of part of Rio Tinto, you know, one of the largest mining companies in the world. Clearly, they're looking for a large deposit. It's spectacularly high grade in portions. We've seen that with recent drilling. We've seen that with previous drilling as well. So obviously those are the type of things that can excite the market. And also, you know, it's last in production between 2008 and 2012. They produced 2.7 million pounds of copper, between 20 and 35% copper, and 7,600 ounces of gold at 16.1 grams per ton gold. So it's something that, you know, you can put in production in, let's call it, relatively short order. Being as there's already still a small mining permit on site. You've got Rio Tinto, one of the world's largest companies, as the operator alongside of you, and you got something that's very high grade. I think for the market and for creating interest, I think that works incredibly well at the moment.
Okay, so it's been a strong start as the results start to roll in. What do the next steps entail to add value?
Well, the drill program for 2021, clearly it's at that phase right now. As Warwick mentioned, there is quite a bit of mineralization that you could just go in and get. Rio Tinto wants to make this a much bigger a mineralization body, or ore body, so to speak. So they're going to gear up for 2021. They haven't discussed those plans yet with us. They've been very good with us in a communication standpoint. They've been giving us weekly updates, and we can find no problem whatsoever with the communications. Once they come up with their new program for 2021, we'll review it with them and see. You know, we don't have that much impact on it, but we are consulted, which is kind of nice.
So to date, exploration has identified 3 different types of mineralization at the project. Does this perhaps lend itself to be a more complex project, or what are your early stage assumptions?
That's a good question. The processing stream for these different styles of mineralization obviously is going to be different. What you'd do with the massive sulfide would be to ship it and float a concentrate, and that would have to go to a smelter. The other oxide mineralization can be processed at any oxide mill, and there's actually a mill just about 20 miles from us, the Sunshine Mine up there. Has traditionally produced, I think it produced 2 million ounces or so for Barrick. So there are facilities to ship this off to for sure. It's right at this stage, I think what they're trying to do is just to make it big. But once it starts to get big, if it fits within their parameters and within their goals, they'll start to do a lot more metallurgical work on it to see what the processing options are.
In a best case scenario, by when do you expect to maybe complete another economic study for the project?
I would imagine what they're going to do this year. They've relogged a bunch of the old holes that they didn't particularly like the quality of the logging, I guess. And they're trying to put together a 3-dimensional model of the skarn and the jasperoid, essentially the mineralization as we know it. What they'll do is segregate those into isolated sulfide, isolated jasperoid, just so that they can use different tonnage factors. I would imagine they'll pull something off internally this winter when everything shuts down up there.
Interesting. Okay. The company also has 2 other projects based in Nevada, Tuscarora and Gooseberry. Warwick, would you please just walk us through the strategy with those assets and how the company plans to add value for shareholders?
Yeah, absolutely. Both those assets we're going to see drilled in short order. Tuscarora, we did a transaction on recently with a company called Elko Sun. They're in the process of going public. And I know they're planning on doing somewhere in and around a 3,000 meter drill program this year, which Eric will be helpful on as well. He's already been working on targeting, etc., for Elko Sun's team. And then Gooseberry, which is a mine just outside of Reno, hasn't been touched since 1994. It had some spectacular grades previously. It's an asset we're really excited about as well. There's ongoing discussions on that about a partner taking that on. We've spoken to a couple groups. We think we'll get something done on that in short order. And anything that we get done on that will involve drilling as well. So both projects we believe will be drilled here in the near term. And we're certainly excited to see that and get some more drill results out for the market.
So the company is moving forward on 3 fronts simultaneously. How does your financial situation look like to finance these activities?
We're in a good, strong position. We've got to, just over about $2 million in cash. We keep a very low burn rate because we're having the other companies do all the drilling. But even with that low burn rate, because we've got Rio as a partner, and then Elko Sun, and then looking to bring on a third partner, we'll see an awful lot of drilling coming up in short order, which is always nice to have a good amount of news flow and be moving these projects forward. On top of that, through Elko Sun, we have a good share position in the company as well. So when they go public, those shares obviously go to the bottom line for American Pacific. Again, we'd look to structure that into any deal that we do on Gooseberry as well. So those become sort of self-funding operations by having shares in the other public company that's spending the money and doing the work. It's also nice as well, in discussions on Gooseberry and already with Elko Sun, Eric would be significantly involved in those campaigns, which pleases us, and I think will please shareholders as well. Obviously, Eric's got a good history of discovery under his belt, and somebody who understands those projects and can help those projects along. And under the current environment as well, Eric's down in the U.S., so that helps a lot for any international company that's looking to come in. He can run the program and bring his team in without anybody sort of struggling because of COVID to get across the border.
Yeah. Well, that segues perfectly into my next question. I wanted to zoom out from the projects and just ask you in general, how has COVID-19 impacted the company's operations to date?
We've been lucky. I think mining companies have fared really well. Obviously, the price of gold, the price of silver has gone up, and since sort of PDAC, so beginning of March, there was a bit of a lull there for 4 to 6 weeks, but things really took off after that, especially for American Pacific. Closed that Madison transaction, we closed a financing. We've been one of the lucky groups. I know there's a lot of people out there who have struggled through COVID, but for us, we've done well during that time. So that's been nice. On top of that, I'm up here in Canada, along with the CFO, and then Jonas Lang, one of the independent directors. And then Eric and Ken Cunningham, the other independent director, are both down in the States. We're thankful for that, simply because from what I mentioned before, obviously I can't go down to the US and Eric can't come up here, but we're able to cover off the 2 countries and then do Zoom meetings such as this to discuss. But it's helpful. If you have everybody on one side of the border right now and you have projects on the other side, that can be a real challenge. You become reliant on consultants, etc. Whereas Eric and I can pick up the phone or pick up the Zoom and have discussions. He can go to projects and I can go to meetings up here. It's been all right for us.
That's fortunate for you.
We're very fortunate, yeah.
And then lastly, I wanted to ask, just how does the mining supports compare between Montana and Nevada? And Nevada is, of course, well known as a mining jurisdiction, and it's been a hotspot for investment in recent years. Montana is lesser well known. Please tell me about how the state government is supporting mineral development.
I'll take that one. Montana's, if you're in the right place in Montana, it's a pretty mining, the history is mining rich, and they're very supportive of mining. This particular project is located in the southwestern part of the state. So the big gigantic Butte mine, which has been in production for 100 years or so, is just to the north of us. Golden Sunlight, there's lots of mining activity right now and lots of exploration activity. So if you're in the right place, if you go all the way up to the border, yeah, well, you're probably asking for some delays. But the fact that we have our permits in place, small mining permits, water discharge permits, and all of these other essential permitting issues are taken care of, it seems to be a really good place. Obviously, Nevada is going to be the number one. That's where I live, just because the whole state, really, the economy is just wind around mining one way or another. But there are areas in Idaho and in Montana that we're currently reviewing properties that are in good mining jurisdictions.
That's good to hear. So, gentlemen, are there perhaps any other points we should be talking about that I've not specifically asked you about yet?
Henry, I think you've done a pretty good job of covering off who we are. I mean, we're very lucky to have Rio as a partner. They've been great communicators. They've been great to work with. We've got a great high grade asset down in Montana that they're obviously looking for something big. And then the other two assets that we have in Nevada are going to be drilled here shortly as well. And the company's in a good cash position. So, we're excited for for the rest of 2020 and into 2021, and look to create some excitement via the drill bit.